محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. قال رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I hope you are able to hear me. Is everybody able to hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair. Okay, inshallah, today we are doing the second session of Zakah workshop. It's the last session, and in this session, inshallah, we will be discussing on the rules and legislations of Zakah. Last week, we discussed about the importance of Zakah and the punishment of not paying Zakah, and those who disbelieve in it as a pillar of Islam, that it's obligatory. We discussed that these people are out of Islam. Subhanallah, Zakah has been placed in Islam, has been given the same weightage as the Salah. So Salah and Zakah are the two important legislations without which one's Islam is not complete. So next we are going to discuss on the rules, conditions, on the wealth on which the zakah is to be given and how much zakah is to be given, and to those who Allah has mentioned in the Quran who are those who are eligible for taking zakah. Not everyone is eligible for taking zakah. So it is important to know who we can give zakah. Who are those people? So first we will understand the zakah who is due on every free Muslim on particular types of properties, provided it has reached the nisab. Nisab is certain amount of wealth. If it reaches that amount, then the zakah is due, and it is due on every free Muslim. Nisab is the minimum amount of wealth which makes it obligatory on its owner to pay the zakah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions it in Surah Baqarah, ayah number 267. Wallahu a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu anfiqu min tayyibati ma kasabtum wa mimma akhrajna lakum min al-ard. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, "O you who have believed, spend from the good things which you have earned, and from that which we have produced for you from the earth." So the two things on which the zakah is paid are these two things: one which a person earns, and the other which the earth produces by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So zakah is enjoined on the wealth that can provide support or sustenance to people, which multiplies and incurs profit. Either it spontaneously multiplies as cattle and harvest, or it multiplies by investment and management, like gold, silver, currency, provident funds, shares, bonds, and trading commodities. The percentage is different for different types of wealth. It is enjoined according to the effort that is exerted on the property. So the first type of property on which zakah is 1/40th, that is 2.5%, that is which needs maximum amount of effort to gain, like gold, silver, money. Money can be in the form of currency, it can be in the form of investments like shares and bonds, etc., and trading commodities. If a person trades in cars, in textile, in groceries, anything that a person trades on, the zakah is due on the trading commodities. So these things, gold, silver, money, shares, bonds, etc., trading commodities. On this, the zakah is 2.5% of the value if the value exceeds more than the nisab. And what is the nisab? We will discuss inshallah. So first you remember what percentage one has to give on this. What percentage you have to give on gold you have? What percentage do you have to give on silver and money that you have? That is 2.5% of the value of these things, gold, silver, and money, and trading commodities. 20% on rikas. Rikas is buried wealth. It may not concern everyone. It may be a very rare incident, but it sometimes happens that a person discovers something from underground earth, which is old, like old coins, gold coins or silver coins that somebody at some time had buried and had forgotten or went away, and the man buys this land and he starts to build a house and he finds something pot full of money. Okay, so this money, as long as it did not belong to the previous owner, and which obviously he wouldn't be belonging to because it's an old money, he has to give 20% of this money in the zakah. But there are countries where there are laws regarding the taxation of this money, or they may have to give the money back to the government. That's something one has to take care of. 10% of the produce of the land, if one has agricultural land. In the country you live in or in your home countries, if you produce something from the ground, 10%, if the land is watered with less effort, that it is watered naturally, if there are rivers around it, surrounding it, or if there is rainwater, 5% of the produce at the time of harvest, if the land is harvested with effort, with tube wells, with something that you have to make canals to bring the water in and things like that. So 10% or 5% from the produce of the land. So what produce on which the zakah is due, we will do it inshallah in the coming slides. So we discussed the percentage. Percentage on gold, silver, and currency is 2.5%. On the land produce, it is either 10% or 5%. Okay. When is the zakah due? When a complete lunar year passes. When a complete lunar year passes with regards to money, trading commodities, gold, silver, shares, bonds, cattle, etc. A person acquires gold, buys silver, or his income starts and he starts to save money from a certain date. One whole lunar year has to pass with this person having this amount of money, which is more than the nisab or equal to the nisab, and this money has to be with him for one whole lunar year, and then he will give 2.5% of his zakah to the people, to the poor. And on the land produce, when the grains become hard, and with regards to fruits, the sign indicates getting ripeness appear. What, on which produce will you give zakah? The produce which can be stored. For example, barley, wheat, rice, dates, because dates can be dried and stored. Raisins can be dried and stored. So the things that can be dried and stored, on these things, when they are harvested at that time, the zakah has to be given. But there is no zakah on vegetables, on fruits, which you cannot store them. So there is no zakah on them. If you have mines, it may be gold mines, it can be silver mines, it can be mines of any kind of mineral. Zakah on mineral is given when they are mined. So in those things, they also come out from the ground. You have to give zakah on that at the time when they are mined. And there is another type of zakah, which is zakatul fitr. It is to be paid before performing the Salatul Eid. In Ramadan, the last 2 days of Ramadan, maybe 7, 27, 28, 29, or just before the Eid Salah, you have to give Zakatul Fitr. Now, there are 5 conditions to pay zakah. The one, that being a free person, being a Muslim, it is due on old or young, sane or insane, male or female. The evidence is that in a hadith, there is an Abdul Rahman ibn al-Qasim, he narrates from his father that he said that Aisha used to take care of me and a brother of mine who were orphans under her care, and she used to pay zakah from our wealth. So even the orphans definition in Islam is a child who is below the age of puberty and he has lost his father. So Aisha, Ummul Mumineen, Aisha radiallahu anha, she used to pay zakah on behalf of these orphan children. So zakah is a financial right upon the wealth itself, and therefore is not waived by young age or insanity. So the insane person, he is not obliged to pray. Young child is not obliged to pray. Young child is not obliged to fast or do hajj. But zakah, if he is having money more than the nisab and 1 year has passed on his behalf, their guardians will have to pay zakah. And Ibn Umar radiallahu anh, he used to encourage people to invest orphans' monies into trading so that it would not finish by zakah. And this is the purpose of zakah. Zakah means that the money should be circulated in the community, the poor should be benefited, and it stops hoarding. The third condition is nisab. No zakah is due on what is less than nisab. The wealth should be in possession for full lunar year. This is the fourth condition. And zakah on what comes out of earth is on their maturity. This is the fifth condition. That is, they have to be harvested, dried, or cleaned. So the first condition, the proof of it is that when the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam sent Maaz, may Allah be pleased with him, to Yemen, he sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to him, verily, you are coming to a people among the people of the book. So call them to testify there is no God but Allah, and I am the Messenger of Allah. If they accept that, then teach them that Allah has obligated 5 prayers in each day and night. And if they accept that, then teach them that Allah has obligated charity to be taken from the rich and given to the poor. If they accept that, beware not to take from the best of their wealth. Be on guard from the supplication of the oppressed, for there is no barrier between it and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now the first condition has to be met, that they have to testify that there is no God but Allah. They have to first accept Islam, testify, say Shahada, and then they have to accept the prayer, and then they have to give zakah. So no zakah is due on a person if he has not accepted Islam. So the condition is that he has to be a Muslim. Zakah, a second condition about zakah is, Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, said, no zakah is to be taken from property until a year passes on it. So 1 year, 1 lunar year has to be passed before the zakah can be collected from people. In the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and even in the later times, people were sent, they were called zakah collectors, who were sent to collect zakah from people. So they would see which wealth had completed 1 lunar year before they would take money from it. And then on the harvest, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in Surah An'am, and give its due zakah on the day of its harvest. So the zakah has to be given at the time of harvest for the agriculture produce. the zakah is prescribed for gold and silver, whether they are in the form of coins, bars, dust, or ornaments. As long as the amount owned constitutes a nisab, a period of 1 year has passed, debts are settled, or basic needs satisfied from it. So the evidences in Surah Tawbah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions those who hoard gold and silver and spend it not in the way of Allah, give them the tidings of a painful punishment. So here the hoarding of gold and silver means that amount of your wealth on which zakah has not been given. So Allah promises a painful punishment for them, and specifically Allah mentions gold and silver. In those times, the currency was in the form of gold and silver coins. Now, although the paper currency has been introduced, the currency then now it also means that other than the gold and silver, we have to give zakah on the paper currency as well. In the two Sahihain, it is related that the Prophet ﷺ said, if any owner of the gold or silver does not pay what is due on him when the day of resurrection comes, the gold or the silver will be turned into plates of fire for him, and he will be punished with them. Now comes the nisab, the amount on which the minimum amount exceeding which the person has to give zakah. But the amount, if a person has got 85 grams of gold, how did they calculate 85 grams? In the time of the Prophet ﷺ, he would collect zakah from people if they had 20 dinars with them. 1 dinar was made of gold. 20 dinar would weigh around 85 grams. So 85 grams of gold, if one person has, be it male, female, child, young or old, and he has this amount of gold for 1 full lunar year, then he has to pay zakah on the whole amount of gold that he has, even if it is more than 85, as much as it exceeds. On every single gram of gold, he has to give zakah. Also, then he has to see how much currency he has, and he has to pay zakah on both the currency and the gold. Similarly, the minimum nisab of silver is 595 grams of silver, which was, it used to be 200 dirhams, coins of silver in the time of the Prophet ﷺ. In the time of the Prophet ﷺ, 20 dinars would buy almost the same amount of cattle, sheep, as 200 dirhams. So the nisab for silver was 595 grams and gold is 85 grams based on that. If a person has more than 595 grams of silver, he has to give, or she has to give 2.5% or zakah on the whole amount of silver that she has or he has, provided that the procession time is 1 full lunar year. So if I buy a gold set today, I have to pay zakah for it after 1 lunar year has passed on my gold set, if that amounts to 85 grams. The nisab of currency, trade goods, shares, bonds, etc. is in terms of current value of gold or silver. So now you have gold. Other than that, you have some currency. Other than that, you have invested in some bonds, bought some shares. When 1 year, you can say some people would assign a month for it, for example, maybe in Ramadan. So you calculate your bank balance at that time, how much money it has, how much gold you have, how much currency you have, and you pay zakah on it. And then you see if you have any silver, then you pay zakah on it. If somebody has a shop and he sells commodities, commodities can be anything, then he has to, at that time, he has to take inventory, he has to see what is the selling price on that day. And the amount of, he has to calculate the money he has according to the commodity that he has, and 2.5% of the amount of that much he has to pay, or he can take out the 2.5% of that commodity. For example, he's a cloth merchant, so he takes out the cloth itself and give in zakah. He can take out the commodity 2.5% itself and give zakah, or can calculate it in the terms of currency and give that much currency in zakah. Both ways it's allowed. Gold, I can give it in the terms of gold. For example, 2.5% is weighing about 1 ring of mine. So I can give 1 ring in zakah, or I can convert it into currency and give zakah on that. Nisab for agricultural produce, land produce, minerals and treasure. We'll discuss that inshallah. The minimum of nisab for gold is 20 dinars owned for 1 year. Its due as zakah is a quarter of 10th, that is half a dinar. The dinar was of gold, and 20 dinar equals about 7.5 tola or 20 miscals or 85 grams. The minimum nisab for silver is 200 dirhams owned for 1 year. The amount payable as zakah is a quarter of the 10th, that is 2.5%. There is no zakah on silver until the amount exceeds 200 dirhams. And 1 dirham coin weighs around 2.9 grams. So 200 dirhams will be 595 grams of silver. So if the silver has, or the gold has not reached nisab, you will not give zakah of the gold. But if the currency has reached nisab, then you will give zakah on both. If the silver has not reached nisab, you will not give zakah on silver. You cannot mix the two. So, okay, I have 80 grams of silver and I have maybe 20 grams of gold, and together they can make 595 grams. No, you cannot do that. If the silver is less, don't give zakah on silver, but gold you have to give. But you should club the currency though. Currency should be clubbed, like gold, 85 grams, currency $2,000. So both together we have to give zakah. Silver 595 grams, currency $1,000. So both together we will give zakah. Is there combining gold and silver? If a person owns gold and silver, but neither of them on its own constitute a nisab, you should not combine the two in order to obtain a nisab. This is because they are not of the same kind. The basic rule is that no category can be combined with the other. It is the same with cows and sheep. For example, if someone has 199 dirhams and 19 dinars, he is not supposed to pay the zakah. With regards to cash, it should be added to it. Not it can be, but it should be added to it. So we will come back to this loan system, inshallah, later. First, let us do the zakah on the trade goods. The value of trade goods must reach the nisab evaluated in gold or silver. So if the value of the trade good in a shop of a person is equal to more than 85 grams of gold, or he may calculate it from silver also, that he has the value of the trade goods more than 595 grams of silver of that current time, then he has to pay zakah on the trade goods. A lunar year must lapse upon the nisab, for the Prophet ﷺ said, no zakah is due upon wealth until 1 year has passed. The owner has acquired the wealth by doing some acts such as transactions, gifting, bequeathing, renting, or other means of acquisition. The owner intends to use trade goods for trade and profit, since the rewards of deeds depends upon intention. So here, for example, if you have a car, okay, and you are using that car, there is no zakah on the car that you are using for yourself. You have 3 or 4 or 5 cars, but you are using them in the sense you have renting them out. You have a rent-a-car business. So there is no zakah on the price of the cars, but there is a zakah on the income of the cars. So at the end of the lunar year, you will see how much income you had and how much is left in your bank account. If that is more than the nisab, you will have to pay zakah. But if someone is selling the cars, he has a showroom of cars and he has 10 cars in the showroom, and those 10 cars are in his showroom for one full lunar year, he has to pay zakah on those cars. So this is the difference. Any commodity, if you are using it, there is no zakah. But if you are buying it to resell it and to make money, then there is zakah. So you bought a car with the intention of using it. It is with you for one lunar year, no zakah. But you are buying a car that you will resell it to make money, then there is zakah on it. Similarly, land. You buy a land with the intention of using it, maybe building a house, maybe putting that house on rent. So there is no zakah on the land. There is no zakah on the amount of value of your plot or value of your flat, because your intention is not to trade it. You are not doing a business. You are not doing a business of buying and selling houses. So there is no zakah on the value of the house. There is a zakah on the rental income if that rental income is more than the nisab and one lunar year has passed. So if you buy a plot with the intention, maybe I will build a house, or maybe I will see later on what to do. Maybe I'll give it for a rent. No zakah. No zakah on the house if the intention is not to resell it. But if the intention is that I am buying it today, after a few months, the prices will go up and I will sell it. So now, after a few months, the prices didn't go up, but your intention is from the very start was to sell and make money. And if that plot was with you for one lunar year, you have to give zakah, because your intention from the very beginning was to sell the and make money on it. So trade goods also 2.5% you have to calculate. If 2.5% zakah you have to give on this. Livestock I will skip, but if you have shares and any provident fund and any other source of income, you have to give zakah. There is evidence in the that you have to give zakah on the camels, sheep, goat. That I will skip. I will send the PPT. If somebody has those, then you can give zakah on that. The condition is that they are grazing freely and you are not buying the feed for them. And if you buy feed and give them, then there is no zakah on them. And rikas also, there is a mineral also. I will send the PPT. You can just see the PPT and see. If the meeting ends, please rejoin until I finish the PPT, inshallah. And for the minerals and the nisab is 720 kilograms and above. A Muslim must hasten to give zakah as soon as it is due on his property. It is obligatory upon the guardian to give zakah due on the property of a child or an insane person. And it is not permissible to give zakah without the intention. So you cannot say, okay, I'm going to calculate my zakah of this year. And last year, I paid so much of sadaqah to this man, so much of sadaqah to this man, so I will add it to my zakah. No, the intention of the zakah should be before you give the money. If you have given the money and you did not intend it for zakah, that money cannot be counted into zakah. So the intention of the zakah should be before the deed. It's just like salah. You stand for salah and you pray 2 rakah and then you decide it should be your sunnah or should be your fard. No, you make intention before you start your prayer. Similarly, you make intention before you give your zakah. So be careful with your zakah. Make intention of zakah. If you give more zakah, no problem. But if you give less zakah, then it is haram. And how to calculate zakah if it is in your bank currency? Just see the balance. And at the end of the year, you give on what is left if it is more than the nisab. That is an easy calculation, because you cannot calculate I saved 1,000 in this month and 2,000 in this month. So in this month, I will give so much of zakah. In this month, I will give so much of zakah. That's a very difficult way of calculating, although it's jaiz and you can do it that way. But easier way is that you pay zakah on the bank balance you have at the end of your lunar year, and you give zakah on every money. So even if it is prepone, it's okay. You can prepone your zakah for up to 2 years. So I have to give zakah to someone and I have wealth. So maybe next year zakah also I can calculate and give it now if somebody is in need. That's fine. So you have to give zakah and pray to Allah that Allah makes it a profit to you and not a loss. And those who take zakah, they should also make dua for the person who gives, that may Allah bless his zakah money. So it is obligatory upon every Muslim on whom zakah is due to give zakah at its due time without hesitation or delay. You can send it to other places, but if the people in your town, in your hometown are poor, then it is better to give the zakah where you are. First, take care of the poor of your own place and then give it to others. But if you're transferring money to another country, that's also fine. Now, this is very important. Who are the recipient of the zakah? Who can you give zakah? You cannot give zakah to just anyone. Allah has very categorically specified those on whom zakah is due. So zakah is due, zakah expenditure are only for the poor and the needy and for those employed to collect zakah, and for bringing hearts together for Islam, and for freeing captives or slaves, and for those in debt, and for the cause of Allah, and for the stranded traveler. So the poor, fuqara, innamal sadaqatu lil fuqara'i wal masakin. So there are two categories of the poor. The faqir, who is begging and asking for money. Very, very poor person. He has nothing. Miskin are those, they may have some money, they may have some income, but that income is not sufficient for them. Maybe they are not able to pay the fees of their children's school. They are not able to give their rent sometimes. So they are always in constant tug of war with money. And people don't even recognize them. Sometimes they feel they have income, they're nice people. But if you see, those who are close to them, they recognize them. They know, in every family, there are some people who know who are the miskin in the family. So you can identify them, send your zakah to those people who are the zakah. It is better to give to your relatives. They have the first right. And if the poor and the needy is your husband, he is in debt. So one of the categories is for the debts. So you can, from your own zakah, fulfill the debts of your husband or his family or your sisters, or those who are not dependent on you, like your children are dependent on you if you have your income. Your parents are dependent on you if you have your own income. But other than that, you can give zakah. And it is better to give zakah to your close relatives rather than to give it to others. If you have relatives who are needy, may Allah make one of those who are rich and not in need of zakah, and also our relatives too. And make us of those who are giving and not taking. So the poor, the needy, and if somebody is employed by the government to collect zakah, not self-made organizations, no, not like that. But if the government employs someone as zakah collector, from the same zakah that is collected by the government, they pay their salaries. And bringing the hearts together. This is the only category where non-Muslims are included. On all the rest categories, the zakah is to be given only to the Muslims. The non-Muslims are coming in this category to bring their hearts together. So if you see someone who is coming closer to Islam, you can give them and help them so that they convert Muslims. Or you are living in a place where you are surrounded by non-Muslims and you have a fear that they will be antagonistic, or they may be hostile towards you. So to bring their hearts towards you, closer towards Muslim, to save Muslims from their harm, you can give them zakah. But other than that, you are not allowed to give zakah to non-Muslims. New Muslims are deserving of zakah if they are poor. for freeing captives or slaves, and for those in debt. So anyone who is in debt and he is not able to give zakah, give his debt back, one has to collect money. You can collect money from zakah and give. And the cause of Allah, it is basically who are jihad fi sabilillah, who are people who are fighting for the cause of Allah. And now many scholars also include that they teaching, circulating knowledge. And the traveler can be a rich person in his hometown, but when he is here in your country, he lost everything. So you can give him zakah so that he can reach home and fulfill his needs of buying a ticket or whatever. You cannot give zakah. You have to give zakah individually to the poor in his hand. Now, whatever he does, he wants, he can do with his zakah. You cannot put conditions that you can do this and this with this money. It's up to him where he wants to spend, whether he wants to buy medicines, whether he wants to buy things, or whether he is buying a mobile, doesn't matter. It's not my concern. He is poor. He asks for help. You just give him. And you cannot give zakah to masajid, to schools, to hospitals. Yes, you can buy medicines for the poor. You can buy books for the poor students. You can buy food for the poor students. In 1 minute, this will be over. Just rejoin from the same links, please, sisters. Okay. So you can fulfill the individual needs of people, but you cannot invest zakah money on the construction of school building, on the construction of a hospital building, or masajid, or schools where both rich and poor people are studying. Orphanages where only poor kids are coming, that's fine. But if there are mixed students, then you have to identify the need of the poor students and give zakah for them. The Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Allah exalted be he, did not take the judgment of a prophet or any other person concerning zakah, but he judged according to it. And